Joe, Mike Norvell and his status as the head coach at Florida State has come into a little bit of question here. There was a lot of sourcing from On3 that they are looking into moving on from him. Pete Nako's over at On3 said if they did move on from him and the entire staff, it would be, and I'm quoting, $100 million to move on from Mike Norvell. Today, the administration said that they were fully committed to Mike Norvell, and at the end of the season that they will do a comprehensive assessment of the football program. When you look into this Mike Norvell situation, Joe, now in the last 2 years that he is 0-12 in ACC play, what are your thoughts about this whole Mike Norvell situation?
I think that there's two things that apply for what has happened so far this year and his future with the program. One, the buyout's enormous. So to have assumed that he was going to get fired after the Stanford game, I felt like was a little bit hasty. Was it something that I'm sure some pissed off donors were considering? Yeah. When you've got that much money, sometimes you get so mad that you might be thinking, I want to flex it. I'm sure that was what the approach was. I don't think that as cooler heads probably prevailed on Sunday and they were thinking through this, they realized they didn't want to put that much money towards telling him not to coach. I think one part of this is going to end up, as you just mentioned there, a comprehensive look at the program at the end of the season. There is going to be a realization that the team played up to the expectation after how bad they were last year. We talked about this in the preseason preview that we did for Florida State. We talked about how we did not know what to expect with this team. And quite literally, that has happened. People commented on the video saying to us, like, what do you mean? Like, if you don't know what you're saying, then how can you
remember like he yelled at ACC media days?
Right.
Remember? Right.
But part of the commentary was, how are you going to predict what a team's going to do and say you don't know what's going to happen? That's literally what's happened this year. They are a Pandora's box of chaos for either a great game or a complete, utter meltdown. I think that Mike Norvell has the athletes and the team to recollect themselves, to bounce back, and to finish the year 7-5. I think it's totally doable. I think it is accomplishable. I think that they can beat Florida this year with an interim coach. I think it's doable. At the current moment, they need to rapidly adjust and make changes. Otherwise, if they keep doing the same stuff and make the same mistakes and they don't have the same level of intensity that they had against Alabama, they don't find that again, then they're going to run into some serious problems. But Blake, this is what we thought that they were going to be. 7-5, 8-4. And they're about to be 7-5, 8-4.
Things could be worse than that. They're inventing new ways to lose. That Stanford game, brother, Stanford is god-awful. They are god-awful. I get that you had to go late night West Coast and your timing's off. Like, I get it. Joe, they're finding new ways to lose. I mean, the end of the game was absolutely insane. I mean, the ending of that game was one of the more insane endings that I've ever seen in my entire life. On Castellanos trying to get in there and they couldn't and all this kind of stuff. Here's the truth. You were a big bad dog, and you thought you were a big bad dog when you said to yourself, we're going to spend $100 million to leave the ACC, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. Oh, are you a big dog now? You a big dog now? Because you puffed your chest out and said, we're going to spend that level of money to move away from the conference that you're in. And that same conference that you're playing in is kicking your teeth in. Joey's 0 for 12 in the last 2 years in ACC play. Let me ask you this. Do they have a choice not to move on from him? Do they not have to find a way to bite the bullet? Let me tell you what you can't do as a program, as an AD. What you can't do is come out here publicly poking your chest out, saying we're going to spend $100 million to leave the ACC, and then go 0-12 in that same conference, saying this conference isn't any good and that they're not giving us our fair share. The truth of the matter is, yeah, that might have been right for 2023 and maybe 2022. You're a non-factor. You talked about the Pandora's box. You're right. They're a Pandora's box because they go out there and they steamroll Alabama, steamroll them, beat them up and down the field all night. Joe, he's 0-12. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? I don't know if they don't have a choice. I don't know if they don't need to do some backdoor deals here and say, Mike, it's not working here. I understand that you got a massive buyout. They got to do something because, Joe, what you cannot do is continue to have. I don't think he can turn it around. Just so you and I are clear. I don't think he can.
I disagree with that.
Joe, he's 0-12. They're not recruiting in the level.
He beat one of the best teams in the country.
Joe,
in week 1.
So did NIU last year. Doesn't make NIU a good team. Troy beat LSU years ago.
Stop. Stop. Those examples do not apply with what I just said to you. That
he's 0-12
argument. No. Okay.
How is it a straw man argument when he's 0-12 in the ACC?
I understand what you're saying, that the recent stretch of performances that they've had have been atrocious. And I get that a lot of Florida State fans are upset. But at the same time, what did we think was going to happen in the preseason? We did not think that this team was going to be a college football player. But if we're saying a team is going to go 7-5 after they were atrocious last year.
They might not make it there, brother.
They play Wake Forest, a bad Clemson team, potentially without Cade Klubnik, Virginia Tech, NC State, and Florida.
They lost to Stanford.
That is a difficult travel situation. That is a completely different circumstance.
Joe, it doesn't matter. Even if he won 2 games and he's 2-6, that makes him 5-7. That means he's won 7 games in the last 2 years. That would make him 2-16. 2-14 in the last 2 years in the ACC.
Okay. If he goes 5-7, I think this conversation is completely different. But the whole point that I'm trying to make here with this is that if we projected a team to go 7-5 or 8-4, the way that they've played through the current season is exactly how that comes to fruition. I remember distinctly we said during that preview that, hey, he's going to lose games that he's not supposed to. That is what is going to happen. We have to remind ourselves how awful the roster was last year. Awful. They had to go in the transfer portal. I think it was like 23 new players because they had to completely gut the entire thing. This is what we talked about, that it was too hard to transform into a consistent team overnight by band-aiding everything. This is a multi-year reclamation project. They're committed to him financially. I would like for once that if you're a program that's going to dig all this money into giving a guy a big contract, stand behind him. I think this is
behind 0-12 in the ACC.
Blake, the buyout for him is gigantic. It's ridiculously gigantic.
I understand all of that, but at the same time, you can't keep doing this. And let me tell you what else.
$100 million.
Okay, well, then you shouldn't have come out here 2 years ago, poking your chest out, acting like you're a big dog, saying I'm going to spend $200 million to leave the ACC.
I don't think that those things are related, though.
They are related because
how are they related?
Let me tell you how they're related. It's like a guy walking into the bar trying to get in a fight with everybody, and when somebody squares up, he backs down. You can't back down.
But the aspect of the underperformance is separate in relation to wanting to leave the ACC. Is separate from buying it. But you're going to cripple yourself spending $100 million to get rid of him.
You're going to cripple yourself if you keep him for 2 more years and he keeps losing. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
But this is Blake. But this is the issue that I'm trying to get at here. You gave the guy a gigantic contract and you backed him. You made a statement by giving him this much money that no matter what happens, this is what's forgotten about the buyout conversation. No matter what happens, we have to stick behind him. And by the way, before anyone tries to compare this to James Franklin, $100 million is double $50 million.
Yeah,
this is a catastrophic territory.
Well, there's 2 things. I think Nakos has the $100 million thing wrong. Let me tell you why. Because both of those contracts in that report said if they get another job, Gus Malzahn's going to coach again, so they probably won't owe all of that buyout. I think Nakos' numbers are wrong, to be blunt with you. I don't think it's $100 million. It's not $100 million. And I do think that they would negotiate that down, and I don't think that Mike would do that. I don't think it gets to $100 million. But it also gets to a part where, Joe, you can't keep losing. You'll lose all interest. All interest.
I'm trying to find what
Nako said.
No, not what Nako said, to see if there's like a different number. Because I did see earlier. Well, okay, so here's what the difference is that he would be, this is where it comes into play.
Okay.
He would be owed $55 million, and then we have to also take into account that Malzahn would be owed 3.6, Tony White would be owed 2.6, and then what did they pay to get rid of the last coordinators this last cycle?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think that the $100 million comes from, is that this is a grand financial commitment to the entire regime that would cost that much money to completely uproot.
Look, then negotiate it down for half price. Do something.
Why if I'm Norvell, why would I say yes to that?
I mean, do you think that he's ever going to want to coach again? Because I'm sure that there's buyouts in there where that they pay a difference of what he would be paid at another school. I don't think he's done, but he's not good for the program right now, and everybody's got to understand that. Joe, I get that he might win an ACC game. He might win an ACC game this week, next week, 2 weeks from now. He's still going to be, if you are at a blue blood program, and if you are doing that bad, Joe, think about this. From a mathematical standpoint, let's say he won 2 ACC games this year. He would have to go perfect the next 2 seasons to get to 500. It's not doable.
I mean, I would argue it is doable because he quite literally did it. He's gone perfect in the regular season.
He went perfect for 1 year. And you gave him a big contract, which I don't blame you for giving him a massive contract after being undefeated. But here's the truth. Not making the playoff broke them. It broke them.
Sure, it did. All I'm trying to get at, Blake, is that to have assumed after last year, and you didn't try to figure out firing him last year, which would have been astronomically even stupider if you tried to fire him last year because of the amount of money you committed to him. To expect that this was going to be a playoff team would have been ludicrous.
Asking, but Joe,
I know. But Blake, I know that. But if they're not a playoff team, then the best that they could have done, like we projected, was 8-4, 7-5. And I don't think it's unreasonable considering this is my whole point. This team right now is not like the team last year. The team last year gave up week 1 and they stopped trying.
Did you watch? I mean, with all due respect, did we watch the second half of Stanford? Because they gave up there too.
I think you're underestimating what goes into playing those cross-country trips.
Okay,
I bet on those games all the time, and they always hit.
Virginia.
You
want me to keep going down the road?
They're still fighting in all these games. They're all in close games. They're obviously underperforming. My whole point is that you beat one of the best, a top 4 team in the country, arguably the best team in the SEC at the beginning of the year. And there is still something here.
I don't think there's anything there. He's not going to lead you back.
He's got better wins against the top 25, top 10 than James Franklin did.
Yeah, and he also and James Franklin also has more 10-win seasons than he has coaching in his career.
It's like
I mean, like
I have a really dumb joke. Okay,
go ahead.
No, I'm not going to say the joke. I had a thought pop in my head, but it's kind of like, would you rather have wins against top 25 teams, top 10 teams, or 10 wins?
I would never want this. I would never want.
Neither's a good option. Neither's a good option.
No, I mean, I would never want this for my program. I mean, like, I would rather not get over the hump and still be competitive in some games and not be completely sucky. Joe, I don't know if they can get to 5 wins. I don't know.
I think that they can. I think that they can shock people.
Okay, well, then they're going to have to go, what, 4-2 the next 6 games?
You're telling me that they can't beat Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, NC State, and Florida and win 4 games? And
do I think that they can?
7-5.
Do I think that they can? Yes. But at the same time, I also saw you go on the road to the worst team in the FBS.
Stanford's not the worst team in the FBS.
Okay, who is?
UMass.
They're okay.
Oklahoma State is far worse than Stanford.
They're not far off.
I think you're underestimating Stanford. I'm not saying. Well, actually, let me before you jump in here. I'm not saying Stanford's a good team. I'm saying I think you're underestimating the full country travel. This was a 10:30 kick. This game kicked off at 10:30, and they looked asleep.
Joe,
That's the problem with these damn schedules that Stanford shouldn't be in the ACC.
Joe, he lost 3 other games this year in the ACC.
I know that. One of them was to a top Miami team. He hasn't. That is hot right now.
He hasn't won a conference game in 12 games in the ACC.
And that's abysmal, but you're paying $100 million to tell him to F off, and that's stupid. That's stupid.
Yeah, I didn't say, hold on. I didn't say it wasn't stupid.
I know. I'm not calling you stupid. I'm saying
but I'm not saying it's not stupid. But at the same time, then you get to a place and situation where are you just going to leave him there and let him keep losing? And by the way, what's the moves that you make? They said that they were going to assess things at the end of the year. What fucking moves do you make? Because you're not going to fire Gus Malzahn. Newsflash, you're top 5 in scoring offense.
Well, you could. The one thing you could do is that you could negotiate that if he wants to stay, that he's got to give back a significant chunk of his salary to go towards NIL, which he did already. So like that. See, that's actually what should happen. That is different than a firing and then a negotiation of a buyout, because I don't think that Mike Norvell.
But hold on, that's not what I'm saying.
Down
that's not what I'm asking
a shitload of money to
that's not what I'm asking you. Okay. They're losing. So what changes do you make? I'm not talking about
now.
Norvell. Yeah, they're talking about the AD's talking about firing coaches. Fire whomst?
I guess Tony White.
Good luck. He'll be at a P4 program in the morning. Anyway, all right.